Welcome on into the Hiram College Network. I'm Ari Ross alongside head men's basketball coach Chris Kibler. Chris, how are you doing?
Good.
So, how are the first couple weeks of practice gone so far?
They've gone well. You know, we got a very young team, and so more than half the roster is freshmen. And so anytime that's the case, I feel like, you know, the progression goes a little bit slower than when you have a more experienced team that kind of knows your system.
You mentioned the young team. Of course, you do have a number of returners, but a lot of younger returners and 11 new freshmen. What sort of challenges does that present you guys this year?
Well, it's a conference that's just laden with a lot of experienced players. And so with 11 freshmen, I think we have 8 sophomores, and then we've got 1 junior, 1 senior, and we're waiting for Austin Blatt to come back after an injury. Hasn't been cleared yet. And so I think it's just experience and understanding how the game's played at this level as compared to high school. It's much more physical. The pace is a lot faster. You got to think a lot quicker on your toes and so forth. And that's an adjustment that I think all freshmen and even sophomores, even though we have a sophomore class that's pretty experienced, is still an adjustment for them.
You do have 3 of your top 5 scorers returning, along with 9 letter winners and about 4 starters returning. How is that experience going to help you moving forward?
Well, I think they know our system, and so for them, we always add and delete a little bit, but there'll be a lot that'll be common for them that they should be able to pick up on real quick and so forth. And that's going to be important for them, to take that next step up in leadership of the program and taking ownership.
Of course, you guys do lose your lone All-NCAC selection in Marcel Rice. What's it going to be like to have to replace him?
Well, Marcel stepped up and had an incredible senior year, and gave us some versatility out of our 5 spot. That I'm not sure we have that same type of versatility this year, so we'll look a little different. We'll be a little more athletic, but maybe a little less skilled in that position.
First couple weeks of practice, who stood out to you? Is there someone who's sort of ready to take a leap this year? Are there a couple freshmen you're really excited to see hit the court?
Yeah, I think that, again, we're waiting on Austin Blatt, so he hasn't been in practice, but Sherman Dean has done what we expect. You know, he can really shoot the basketball, and he's gotten better off the dribble as our 1 senior out there on the floor right now. And then Jalen's doing what Jalen has done since the day he's been here as a freshman. And then I think Braji's probably taken a big step up as a point guard and having some experience last year. Has done an incredible job early, has definitely improved. Tyler and Ollie are 2 freshman forwards who've gotten some experience last year that have come back in better shape and a little bit stronger as well. And then we have a group of freshmen that I think have done well. Texan Moulton's redshirt freshman brings great strength and athleticism, rebounding to the floor. And then we've got a group of freshmen, and Kevin Beans, Nas Salim, DeWarren Bolden, and Javon Todd have all looked really good as freshmen. And then we've got another crew of 3 or 4 freshmen that will probably play JV, but have shown flashes of brilliance at times.
So, this is your 6th year as head coach, coming off yet another NCAC quarterfinal appearance. What do you guys do to take the next step? What do you need to do to get to the next game of the NCAC playoffs and get that coveted conference championship?
Yeah, well, I think for the returners, I think that was certainly a goal last year, and I think they felt like they kind of beat themselves in a couple games that prevented us from hosting a tournament game. So I think that's been on their mind a little bit. But ultimately, the upper class guys are going to have to do a good job of leading and filling in what their expectation of their role is supposed to be. And I think some of our freshman guys are going to have to grow up real quick if we want to be able to compete to be in the top half of this conference. I always call it the ACC of Division III. We're one of the few conferences in the country to put 3 teams in the national tournament in the last decade. We've done that on several occasions. We almost always get 2 teams in. And again, it's a conference with a lot of experienced players. Not a lot of teams lost a lot from last year. And so there's a lot of experience coming back in the conference, so it's going to be a real challenge for us.
Taking a quick stock of sort of your career, you're entering year 6, you've been here 5 years. What do you kind of see over the next couple of years for you and the Hiram Terriers men's basketball program?
Well, obviously we're sitting here talking about being really young, and so if those guys can as they matriculate into junior, senior years. We're pretty excited about that. We've certainly expanded our recruiting territory a little bit. Matter of fact, today we got a commitment from a kid out in Nevada. So as long as he doesn't get a scholarship, we think we're adding somebody really special. And so this year is going to be a growing year. Next year we should take the next step, and I really think that following year could be really special for us. But I say that, and every year comes with a lot of unknowns, and seasons can snowball in a really positive manner. We saw that my second year where we were picked 9th and we finished 3rd. And conversely, a season can snowball in a bad way for you. And knock on wood, we haven't had that happen to us yet. We talk about our motto being exceed expectations, and we've done that all 5 years. And so that's really what our goal at the beginning of every season is. Let's exceed expectations, however they pick us. And as the season starts to play out, we start to change those expectations and say, hey, can we take this even the next step, whatever that step may be.
Looking back at last year, then moving forward, what are some areas you guys know you need to improve to take those next steps?
Well, I think we got to shoot from the free throw line a little bit better, particularly in the clutch. I think we need to, we're going to have to defend the 3 a lot better. We didn't do a great job of that last year. And I would say taking care of the ball, just knowing how young we are, make sure that we're taking care of the basketball.
So you've been through a couple weeks of practice. What do you guys need to do from here to the start of the season to start the season strong, and then from here to the end of the season to really get where you want to go?
Well, I think staying focused, just, hey, it's a day-to-day. We're trying to get better every day. And certainly you're going to have some days that might be setbacks that weren't as good as the day before, but trying to improve on an individual level and then on a team level on a day-to-day basis. If we do that, we always say freshmen, it's kind of like a video game. At first the game's a little too fast, they don't know what buttons to hit and so forth. But by the time you get to January and conference plays in heavy swing, I think the game slows down for them a little bit. They start to understand the terminology. They're doing less thinking. They're doing more reacting and just playing. And so that's kind of, I think, what's going to be the game plan, how things will play out for us to be successful.
Looking at your schedule, both your non-conference and conference play, what games sort of stand out to you as potentially big games, and one that A, you want the fans to show up for, and B, your guys are going to get up for?
Yeah. Well, I think this is probably first, Ari, I would tell you, I think this might be the toughest schedule we've ever played. We've got Baldwin Wallace, who went to the second round of the NCAA tournament last year, and they got a lot of guys back, 7 or 8 seniors. We'll play W&J and Bluffton again. And so the schedule's really strong. Games that'll stand, all the conference games are huge, because at the end of the season you're going to look back, and one game can separate 2 positions in the tournament. And the difference between 4th place and 6th place can be 1 game. And so every conference game's big. I think the guys will look forward, obviously, the Denison game at home. I think it's on December 6th, I believe. The Silent Night game, I think the student body gets up for that one, and our players are excited for that game. Anytime you're playing a nationally ranked opponent, those are big games that our guys get excited. Part of their decision to come in here is to play the best competition in the country. And I think we got 3 teams in Wittenberg. Worcester is always a nationally ranked team almost every year. And then Wabash, we think, is going to be very good with Jack Davidson, who's one of the best players, I think, in the country. And so when we play those 3 teams, it's going to be really big. And like I said, the Silent Night game with Denison. And I think there's a little bit of a rivalry maybe with Allegheny with our players.
What constitutes success for you guys this year?
We always say exceeding expectation. And that's where we start with measuring success. But for us, it is, again, making sure we're getting better every day at the end of the season, saying, hey, as an individual and as a team, we're a lot better when we play at the very end of the season as we were at the beginning of the season. And I think most teams go through that process. But you hit about January, and some teams really hit a wall because it's a long season. And the really good teams get through that wall pretty quickly, within a week. Your average teams can take a couple weeks to get through that wall. And so that's going to be a big measuring stick for us, is when we get that January stretch where you're really hitting conference game after conference game, how quickly, as we hit that wall, how quickly do we bust through it or climb over it or go under it or around it, whatever it takes to kind of just get through that and get your second win to head down the stretch.
Final question, Coach. The Terriers will ring the bell a whole lot this year
if they, boy, that's a tough one. They'll ring the bell a lot if they learn to play well together and the upperclassmen lead and the freshmen grow up quickly.
Well, there you have it. This has been men's basketball head coach Chris Kibler. Thanks for joining us, Coach. And we're excited for the start of your season. Just under 2 weeks away, you guys will be heading up to Aurora, New York to take on Wells College in the Wells College Invitational. And we'll be back at home in just a couple weeks. And we're excited for the start of the season. Thanks for joining me, Coach.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Art. Thank you.
This has been the Hiram College Network. Thanks for joining us.